Zara Mensima had always dreamed of being a mother. When her baby boy Little Nee finally came into the world after a long, painful night at the hospital in Accra, she thought nothing could break the peace she felt. She held him close, tears slipping down her cheeks as she whispered, "My baby, my Nee." Her husband, Kabi, was overjoyed too, but his work as an engineer kept him overseas most of the time. He promised he'd visit soon, but for now, Zara had to manage motherhood on her own. Just a few days after bringing Nee home, Kabi's mother, Madame Efua, called. Her voice was firm as always. "I'm coming to help. A new mother can't handle things alone." Zara's heart sank. She had never felt comfortable around her mother-in-law. Efua was the kind of woman who found fault in everything Zara did, from how she cooked to how she spoke. Still, out of respect, Zara agreed. "Of course, Mama. You're always welcome," she said softly, even though her stomach twisted with worry. When Madame Efua arrived, she came with bags full of traditional herbs and baby cloths, her gold bangles clinking as she walked in like she owned the place. First she smiled and said all the right things. "Ah, so this is my grandson. Handsome boy, just like his father." But her next words carried a sting. "Don't worry, my dear. I'll teach you how to raise a real child." Zara forced a smile, though her chest felt tight. That night, as she watched Efua cradle baby Nee, something about her tone made Zara's skin prickle. It wasn't what she said, it was how she said it. Sweet on the surface but sharp underneath. Zara wanted to believe she was overthinking, that Efua truly came to help. But deep down, a quiet fear began to form, the kind that whispers something isn't right. The first few days after Madame Efua's visit were calm, or at least that's how it looked from the outside. She cooked meals, helped with the laundry, and told anyone who called that she was taking care of her poor, tired daughter-in-law. But inside the house, the air was heavy. Zara felt like she was walking on eggshells. Every little thing she did seemed to annoy her mother-in-law. Started small. When Zara tried to hold baby Nee, Efua would sigh loudly. "No, no, not like that. You'll break his neck. Give him to me." When Zara fed the baby, she'd shake her head and mutter, Your mother didn't teach you well. In my time, babies were strong, not spoiled like this." Every word felt like a slap. Zara tried to stay calm, whispering to herself, "Just breathe. She's Kabi's mother. She means well." Every evening, Kabi called from abroad. He'd smile through the screen, his voice full of warmth. "How's my family? Mom, you're helping Zara, right?" Efua's face would light up instantly. "Oh yes, my son. She's doing fine. I'm here to make sure everything is perfect for you and the baby." Then she'd turn the camera toward Zara, smiling sweetly. "Right, my dear." And Zara, heart pounding, would nod and force a smile. "Yes, everything's fine, Kabi." Because how could she tell him the truth, that the woman sitting beside her was slowly breaking her down? At night, when everyone was asleep, Zara would sit in the rocking chair beside Nee's crib and cry quietly. Her baby's soft breathing was the only sound that comforted her. But things got worse. Efua's words became sharper, her tone colder. One afternoon, Zara walked past the nursery and froze. She heard Efua whispering, her voice low and cruel. "Your useless mother doesn't know anything. Poor boy born to a fool. Your father should have married better." Zara's hands trembled. She stood outside the door, her heart racing, listening as her mother-in-law continued talking to the baby, not with love but with bitterness. "Your mother's family is cursed. You'll cry forever if she's the one raising you." Tears filled Zara's eyes. She wanted to rush in, to scream, "How dare you talk about me like that?" But her body wouldn't move. She felt weak, trapped between fear and anger. When Efua finally left the room, Zara stepped inside, picked up Nee and held him close. "I'm sorry, my baby," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I'm so sorry." That night, when Kabi called again, she almost told him everything. The words were right there, stuck in her throat. But Efua was sitting just a few feet away, pretending to knit, her eyes watching closely. Zara stayed silent, only managing a tired smile. "We're fine, Kabi." But deep inside she wasn't fine at all. Something inside her was breaking, and a small, terrified voice in her heart whispered that this wasn't just about harsh words anymore. Something darker was hiding behind Madame Efua's sweet smiles. Something Zara couldn't ignore much longer. One afternoon, Zara's best friend Amma came by with a small box wrapped in gold paper. "For you," she said, smiling. Inside was a brand new baby monitor with a camera and audio. "So you can rest without worrying," Amma explained. "You'll be able to see Nee even if you're in another room." Zara's eyes filled with gratitude. She hadn't slept properly in weeks, and lately, she'd been too afraid to leave Nee alone with Madame Efua for long. "Thank you, Amma," she whispered. "You don't know how much this means." That evening, after everyone had gone to bed, Zara quietly set up the baby cam on a shelf in the nursery. She made sure the little lens pointed toward the crib, the small red light barely noticeable. She didn't tell anyone about it, not even Cobby. She just wanted peace of mind, a way to see her baby when she wasn't in the room. The next afternoon, Madame Efua came into the living room and said in her usual commanding tone, "You look tired, my dear. Go and rest. I'll take care of the baby." Zara hesitated, but exhaustion had taken over her body. Her back ached, her eyes burned, and she hadn't eaten properly all day. "All right, Mama," she said softly and went to lie down. For the first time in days, Zara fell into a deep, heavy sleep. Hours later, she woke suddenly in the dark. The house was quiet, too quiet. Something inside her felt uneasy. She reached for her phone on the bedside table and opened the baby monitor app. At first, all she saw was the dim light of the nursery and Nee's tiny crib. Then she noticed movement. Madame Efua was there, holding the baby. Zara smiled weakly, thinking maybe she was just feeding him. But then the sound came through. Her mother-in-law's voice. Sharp, cold, dripping with anger. "Your useless mother can't even feed you right," she hissed, rocking the baby roughly. "Cry all you want, brat. Maybe that'll make her learn something." Zara froze. Her blood ran cold. She turned the volume up, her hands trembling. Efua continued, muttering cruel things in a low voice. "You're just like her, weak, foolish. Your father should have married a real woman." Zara covered her mouth, choking on a sob. Tears streamed down her face as she watched her baby cry helplessly in those rough hands. Every instinct in her screamed to run into the room, to snatch him away, but her body was paralyzed with shock. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. This wasn't just cruelty anymore, it was hate. Real burning hate. Zara watched for a few seconds more before she finally found the strength to act. She hit record on her phone, capturing every word, every movement. Her heart broke as Nee wailed softly in the background. She wanted to scream, but she bit her lip so hard it bled. That night, as she sat alone in the dark, clutching her phone, Zara whispered to herself, "Now I know the truth." And in that moment, she realized something. She wasn't just protecting herself anymore. She was protecting her son. Zara barely slept that night. She sat in the dark living room, the glow of her phone lighting up her tear-streaked face. Her hands shook as she replayed the video over and over again, hoping she had imagined it all, but the truth was right there, undeniable. Madame Efua's voice came through the speakers, sharper and colder each time. "Your useless mother can't do anything right," she said, roughly patting baby Nee's back. Then her tone grew even darker. "Keep crying, and I'll send you back to your mother's cursed bloodline. Maybe you'll learn to behave in the afterlife." Zara gasped, clutching her chest as her heart seemed to stop. "Oh my God," she whispered, her whole body trembling. Her baby's soft, helpless cries echoed through the audio, a sound that would haunt her forever. She wanted to throw the phone away, but she couldn't. She had to face it. She had to know exactly what had been happening when she wasn't there. The tears wouldn't stop. How could she? Zara whispered to herself. How could anyone talk to a baby like that? She felt sick. The woman who claimed to love her grandson had been cursing him, threatening him. And all this time, Efua had smiled in her face, acting like the perfect grandmother. When the sun finally began to rise, Zara was still sitting there, numb. She quietly backed up the video on her phone, then uploaded another copy to a hidden folder in her cloud storage. Just in case. Something inside her had changed overnight. She was no longer just a scared daughter-in-law. She was a mother ready to protect her child at any cost. The next morning, she heard footsteps coming down the hall. Madame Efua walked into the kitchen humming an old hymn, wearing her best wrapper and head tie as if she had no worries in the world. "Good morning," she said sweetly, placing a plate of eggs and plantain on the table. "You look tired, my dear. Didn't sleep well." Zara's throat tightened. She looked at the woman sitting across from her, the same woman who had threatened her child just hours ago, and her stomach turned. Efua smiled again, her eyes glinting. "You young mothers are always weak," she added with a soft laugh. "Maybe you're not ready for this life." Zara didn't respond. She simply stared at her food, pushing it around with her fork. Her silence seemed to annoy Efua, but she didn't care anymore. Her mind was already somewhere else, planning her next move. When Efua finally left the kitchen to check on Nee, Zara picked up her phone and opened her messages. Her fingers moved quickly, typing through the tears. Zara. "Amma, I have proof." "Amma. Proof of what?" "Zara. Of what she's been doing to my baby." She hit send and stared at the message for a long time. Her heart was racing, her palms sweating. For the first time she wasn't just scared, she was angry. Zara knew there was no turning back now. The truth was out there, recorded in her phone, raw, undeniable, and powerful enough to shatter everything. Zara couldn't hold it in any longer. For days she'd kept the truth buried inside her, pretending everything was fine while her heart was breaking. But that morning, as she looked at her baby's face, those innocent eyes so full of trust, something inside her snapped. She grabbed her phone and called Kabi. When his face appeared on the screen, he looked tired but happy. "My love, how are you and the baby?" he asked warmly. Zara's lips trembled. "Kabi," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I need you to listen to me carefully. Your mother, she's been hurting our baby." Kabi's smile faded. "What? Zara, what are you saying?" "I saw it, Kabi," she cried. "On the baby monitor." She was shaking him, calling him names. She said horrible things. "You have to believe me." Her voice cracked as tears poured down her cheeks. Before Kabi could reply, a voice cut through the air behind Zara. "What lies are you telling now?" Madame Efua stood in the doorway, her eyes blazing. "You see, Kabi, this is what I meant. She's not well." She stepped closer, raising her voice so her son could hear clearly. "Your wife is losing her mind from childbirth stress. She's accusing me of evil things because she can't handle being a mother." Zara turned, shocked. "That's not true. You know what you did." Efua clutched her chest dramatically. "Oh Lord. Listen to her. She's hysterical again. She screams for no reason and cries every night. Even the baby gets scared." Kabi frowned, looking confused on the screen. "Mom, stop, let me talk to her." But Efua wasn't done. She turned to the phone, her face full of fake sorrow. "Son, I would never hurt your child. I love him like my own blood. But your wife, she's not herself. Maybe she needs help." Those words hit Zara like a slap. She stared at her husband's face, desperate for him to defend her. "Kabi, please. You know me. You know I would never lie about something like this." He sighed heavily. "Zara, Mom would never hurt our child. Maybe you're just tired. You've been under a lot of stress." That was it. The final crack. Zara's hands shook as she shouted. "You think I'm making this up? Fine. Watch it for yourself." Her fingers moved fast as she sent him the video file. "I recorded everything, Kabi. Watch it." Then she hung up. Her heart pounded so hard she could barely breathe. Minutes passed. Then hours. No reply. The silence was unbearable. Every time her phone buzzed, her stomach twisted. But it was never him. By evening, she had almost given up. She sat on the bed, rocking Nee gently, whispering, "It's okay, my baby. Mummy's here. No one will hurt you again." Her phone suddenly lit up. It was Kabi. When she answered, his face looked ghostly pale. His eyes were red, his lips trembling. For a long moment he didn't speak. Then his voice came out, soft and broken. "Zara. I saw it." Zara swallowed hard, her hands gripping the phone. "I'm coming home," he said quietly, guilt heavy in every word. "I should have believed you." Zara couldn't even speak. Tears streamed down her face as she held her baby close. For the first time in weeks, she felt both pain and relief, because the truth was finally seen, and there was no going back now. The moment Cobby ended the call, Zara's heart raced. She could almost feel the weight of what was coming. The truth was finally out. But Madame Efua wasn't a woman who went down quietly. That evening, Zara noticed her mother-in-law acting strangely. Efua moved around the house too calmly, humming songs, her eyes darting toward Zara's phone every now and then. When Zara went to bathe baby Nee, she left her phone charging on the nightstand. Efua stood by the door, pretending to fold clothes. The moment Zara stepped away, Efua's sweet smile disappeared. She picked up the phone, quickly scrolling through the gallery. Her hands trembled when she saw the video thumbnail. The proof. Her face hardened. "So, this is how she plans to destroy me," she muttered under her breath. Within minutes, she deleted the video, emptied the trash folder, and wiped the cloud backup. By the time Zara returned, everything looked normal. Efua was sitting by the window, pretending to pray. "You're quiet today," she said softly. "Still angry at your mother-in-law?" Zara didn't answer. Something about the way Efua smiled made her uneasy. Later, when she checked her phone and saw the missing file, her chest tightened. Panic rushed through her. "No, no, no," she whispered. She searched every folder, every backup, gone. But then she remembered something. Amma. Just days earlier, when she had first recorded the video, Amma had begged her to make copies. "People will twist things," Amma had warned. "Send me one copy, just in case." And Zara had done exactly that. She smiled through her tears. "You tried to erase the truth, Mama. But you're too late." 2 days later, without warning, Cobby arrived home early. A taxi pulled up in front of the house just as Efua was watering the flowers. She froze when she saw him step out with his suitcase. "Cobby!" she cried, running to him with open arms. "Oh, my son, thank God you came. Your wife, she's not well. She's been saying terrible things about me. I don't know what's gotten into her." Cobby didn't hug her back. His face was tight, unreadable. "Where's Zara?" he asked quietly. Efua blinked, trying to hold his attention. "Listen to me first, my son. That video, it's fake." She imagined everything. "You know how new mothers get after childbirth. I'm your mother. I would never hurt your child. You know me." He looked at her, silent. The wind seemed to stop. Then, in a calm, steady voice, he said, "Mother, I saw the footage." The words hit like a thunderclap. Efua froze, her mouth open, the color draining from her face. What did you say?" she stammered. "I saw everything," Cobby repeated, his voice shaking now. "Every word, every threat, every time you touched him." For a long moment no one moved. The only sound was the baby crying softly in the distance. Zara stood at the doorway, holding Nee close to her chest, tears in her eyes but strength in her stance. Efua's lips trembled. "Cobby, But he lifted his hand to stop her. "Don't," he said quietly. "Not one more lie." The house that had once echoed with Efua's loud voice and control now fell into heavy silence. The truth was out, and there was no covering it anymore. The house was no longer peaceful. The moment Cobby confronted his mother, everything changed. For years, Madame Efua had controlled every room she walked into, but now she looked cornered. Her face twisted with anger as she shouted, "You're believing her lies. Your wife tricked me, Cobby. She set me up with that camera. Who puts a spy device on their own family?" Zara stood by the door, holding baby Nee tightly against her chest. Her heart pounded, but she didn't move. She didn't need to, the truth was already out. Cobby's voice was low but firm. "That camera wasn't there to spy. It was there to protect our child. And now I know why it was needed." Efua gasped dramatically, clutching her chest. "I raised you better than this. You're choosing her over your own mother." Her voice cracked with fury, but Cobby didn't respond. He just looked at her, tired, hurt, broken. At that moment, Zara's parents arrived. They had come to visit their daughter and meet their grandson again, unaware of the storm waiting inside. When they stepped in, they sensed the tension immediately. Zara's father asked quietly, "What's going on here?" Before Zara could speak, Efua turned toward them, her tears now flowing freely. "Ask your daughter what she's done," she shouted. "She put a secret camera in the nursery to spy on me. She wants to destroy my name." Zara's mother frowned. "A camera? Why would she need to do that?" Kabi finally spoke, his voice shaking. "Because she had to protect our son." Efua spun around. "That's a lie. I was only teaching the baby discipline. She doesn't know how to be a mother, and I was trying to help." Kabi walked slowly to the table, picked up his phone, and tapped the screen. "Then everyone should hear the truth," he said quietly. The room fell silent. Zara's heart pounded as the familiar voice from the baby monitor began to play. Efua's voice. "Harsh, cold, cruel. Your useless mother can't even feed you right. Cry all you want, brat. I'll send you back to her family's curse." The sound filled the house like. The days after that confrontation felt heavy, like the whole house was holding its breath. Kabi barely spoke, and Zara was still shaken by everything she'd heard. Even though the truth was out, the pain ran deep, not just for her but for Kabi too. He loved his mother, but he couldn't ignore what she had done. One morning, Zara sat at the kitchen table, staring at the baby monitor. The memories replayed in her mind, Efua's harsh words, her baby's cries, her own helplessness. Tears filled her eyes again. "I can't pretend this didn't happen," she whispered. Kabi took her hand gently. "You're right. We have to do this properly. No more silence." A week later they went to the family court. It wasn't easy. Reporting someone who was supposed to be family never is. Efua sat across from them, looking smaller than ever. For the first time she didn't argue or shout. She just stared at the table, eyes red and tired. The judge listened carefully, watched the footage, and finally made the decision. "Madam Efua, you are hereby restricted from visiting your grandchild for 6 months. During this period, you must attend therapy sessions to address your behavior." Efua nodded slowly, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I only wanted to help," she murmured. But no one could answer that. When they walked out of the courtroom, Zara felt both relief and sadness. "It hurts," she said softly. "But maybe this is the only way she'll learn." Kabi nodded, wrapping his arm around her. "We're going to be okay," he said quietly. In the weeks that followed, Zara tried to rebuild her peace. Nights were still hard. Sometimes she'd wake up from nightmares of Efua's voice echoing in the nursery. But slowly she began to heal. She realized she wasn't the only woman who had faced this kind of pain, so she decided to do something about it. One afternoon, she gathered a few young mothers she'd met through the clinic. They sat in a small cafe, sharing tea and quiet tears. Zara spoke up, her voice trembling but strong. "We've all been through something," she said. "Let's start something real, a place where women can talk, cry, and be heard." That's how Voices Unheard was born. At first it was just 5 women sharing their stories. But soon messages started coming in, from women across Accra, then from other cities too. Stories of control, manipulation, and courage. Zara listened to each one, replying late into the night while rocking her baby to sleep. Her pain had turned into purpose. And every time a new woman said, "Thank you, I thought I was alone," Zara smiled softly and whispered, "You're not. Not anymore." Months passed, and life slowly began to settle again. Zara was smiling more, Ni was growing fast, and Kabi was doing his best to make their home feel peaceful again. But one afternoon, a thick brown envelope arrived in the mail. No sender's name, just Zara's written neatly on the front. When she opened it, her heart skipped a beat. It was a letter from Efua. Her hands trembled as she unfolded the paper. The handwriting was shaky, like it had been written through tears. "Zara," it began, "I don't expect you to forget what I did. I let my pain become poison. I thought I was helping, but I was only spreading my own bitterness. I've lost sleep, I've lost peace, and I've lost my family. Please, please let me see my grandson once more. I beg you." Zara put the letter down and stared out the window, tears welling up. Part of her wanted to tear it apart, to protect herself and her child from any more pain. But another part of her, the softer one, couldn't ignore the trembling honesty in those words. That evening, she showed the letter to Cobby. He read it slowly, then sighed. "She's trying, Zara. Maybe she really is sorry this time." Zara bit her lip. "I want to believe that. But I can't just forget what she did. Not after hearing her call our baby names." "I know," Cobby said gently. "We'll take it slow. Maybe just one supervised visit." After a few days of thinking, Zara finally agreed. They arranged to meet at a family center, where a counselor would be present. The day of the visit, Zara dressed Nee carefully, a little blue outfit, soft socks, and his favorite blanket. Her hands shook as she buckled him into the stroller. When they arrived, Efua was already there, sitting quietly with her hands folded in her lap. She looked older, smaller, like life had drained the strength out of her. The moment she saw Nee, her face crumbled. She stood up slowly, her lips trembling. May I hold him?" she whispered. Zara hesitated for a long moment before nodding. The counselor gave a small nod of approval, and Efua reached out with shaking hands. As soon as she held Nee, she broke down completely. Tears streamed down her face as she pressed her cheek against his tiny head. "Forgive me, little one," she whispered. "Your grandmother was foolish, so full of pride. I never meant to hurt you, or your mother." Zara stood there, silent. She didn't say a word, she couldn't. Her throat was tight, her eyes filled with tears she didn't bother to hide. Watching Efua cry like that broke something inside her, but it also softened her heart just a little. When the visit ended, Efua handed Nee back carefully, kissing his forehead. "Thank you," she whispered. Zara only nodded, wiping her eyes. As she walked away, she didn't know if full forgiveness would ever come, but in that small room, for the first time, it felt like healing had finally begun. After everything that had happened, Zara knew she couldn't keep her story to herself. She wanted other mothers to know they weren't alone, that even in the darkest moments, there was a way to protect their children. Sitting in her small home office, with Nee asleep in the next room, she picked up her phone and began recording. Her voice was calm but firm, carrying the weight of everything she had lived through. "Sometimes the camera isn't there to invade privacy," she said, looking directly at the lens. "It's there to protect innocence, to make sure children are safe when we can't be in the same room. And sometimes, it saves lives." She uploaded the video to the page for her support group, Voices Unheard. Within hours, it was being shared thousands of times. Women from all over Africa commented, sharing their own stories of toxic in-laws, abusive caregivers, and the struggles of protecting their children. Messages poured in, many saying simply, "Thank you. I thought I was alone." Cobby came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her shoulders. She leaned into him, feeling the warmth and strength he offered. He whispered softly in her ear, "You protected our son when I couldn't. You kept him safe. You were his hero." Zara smiled, a tear slipping down her cheek. She thought of Nee sleeping peacefully in the nursery. She opened the live feed from the baby cam, watching the tiny red light blink softly. The sight brought a quiet comfort, a reminder that vigilance, love, and courage had kept him safe. The video ended with the camera focusing on Nee's tiny face, peaceful and serene. His chest rose and fell with each gentle breath. Around him, the world felt quiet and protected, as if the soft glow of the baby cam was a silent guardian, watching over him, always. For Zara, it wasn't just a video. It was a message, a promise, and a lesson. Protecting innocence sometimes meant standing firm, speaking out, and using every tool at your disposal. And in that quiet moment, she knew she had done exactly that.